Aloha and welcome to Java. Thank you all kindly for joining me. This is for Thursday, March 21st, 2024. Thank you all so much for being here. So, have a lot to go over today. It's basically kind of a hangover day in the markets after Fed Chair Powell spoke yesterday. So, we knew they were not going to cut rates yesterday. However, what they said was that they will do cuts. It's just a question of time. And that is all the market needed to hear to go into a rally mode. So, looking at our main risk indicator, it did drop. Stocks went up, and it was just an incredible thing to see. So, we've got relative strength of the dollar and the 10-year yield both dropped, allowing quite a bit of money to flow back into stock market. So, we've also got the futures green, and this is kind of agreeing with a continuation for today. Possibly, we'll go into this in a bit. So, we're high in greed territory in the sentiment. And basically, all they were looking for was to hear the words rate cuts. And yes, so basically going to get rate cuts, even though it's not anytime soon. We're thinking June. So becoming a bit more irrational. I don't like what I saw yesterday. What that basically did is solidify that it's going to be more pain, basically, and a sharper move for the correction when it does come. So, back to what I was speaking about for today, we're looking at jobless claims and also some PMI numbers coming in from manufacturing. So, these are numbers that are underlying the real economy. And even though we know the numbers are not necessarily correct, it doesn't matter because the numbers that they report are what the market is going to see as what the Fed will use in order to make their decisions. So, if the basically the unemployment numbers come in strong and the manufacturing can dictate which way they think the Federal Reserve will move. We're also hearing from Fed Chair Powell on Friday. So that could move the markets as well because it's not as much the numbers, but now all of the basically the directing that he will do to the market. So going into some stuff, we've got Intel preparing to spend $100 billion across 4 states. So they're pushing to keep the chip manufacturing in the United States, but with labor costs and other things going on, we'll see how this works. So they were awarded $8.5 billion direct funding from the US government. So despite private funding and doing really well, so to speak, at least on the surface, they put through the CHIPS Act. So this is all highly inflationary again, but we'll see how that goes. So it's a boost right now. So we've got the Reddit IPO coming out. This is going to be interesting. Seems to be quite a bit of controversy over this, but we'll be watching that as well. If you are a day trader, would be interesting. So we've got the looming US stock changes could cause headaches for international funds. This is related to basically central clearing, shorter settlement cycles. So this is covered in the documentary, The Great Taking. I've got a link. I'm going to put it in the description. I highly recommend you watch that prior to keeping or maintaining a large portion of your wealth, either in 401ks or in the exchanges. So more than I can explain here, but if you're not owning it and you don't hold it, it's not yours. It's going to banking. The S&P closing at record high, as we were just talking about, because the Fed chose to keep interest rates basically level right now, but they're talking about cutting very soon. So with this, all highly inflationary. So I want to give a quick word about inflation. The United States would like to thank our Western allies for kicking in. Basically, if people understood exactly what was going on with this, they would be very angry. So, for instance, that CHIPS Act that the United States just spent, anyone who uses and holds US dollar as being the reserve currency, the US is inflating away your money. So, your Western ally, you're using US dollar or US dollar denominated, which would include the euro or basically British pound, they're all tied in. The US is basically stealing your value as well as their own taxpayers. So, Swiss National Bank, they unexpectedly cut their rates by 25 basis points. So, that basically crushed their currency because you have to choose between your currency or your economy. So, that devalued their currency, and it's basically a precursor to what we're going to be seeing here with rate cuts. We got Bank of England expecting to do cuts as soon as inflation falls. So I love that second part there. They've got inflation to fall farther. Well, they're already weak. So, but they're talking about their economy is rebounding for the past 4 months. So if anyone is over there, I would like to hear what you're personally experiencing as far as inflation and your economy there. I think they're going to see more job cuts because more is going on below the surface there as well. The whole Brexit thing had uh, still more unwinding to go. So this kind of tells the truth on what's going on. Gold smuggling spiking in Turkey on a growing gap with the world market, also with their currency. They are a member of NATO, and there's still quite a bit of things going on beneath the surface there as well. So, interesting story with ACH, Automatic Clearinghouse. So, this now is the rival of FedNow being replaced. However, they are doing a simulation exercise, and this is on purpose because they already had an outage. So, they tested this on Tuesday on banks and credit unions basically to see if they could withstand what they call a wiperware attack. So they're preparing for this and kind of putting this out there, and you should just be ready as well. So even if you use checks or anything through the banks, could cause a halt. So short story here, California Audit Fund. State is broke. 55 billion more owed than available. They're all shocked about this. We're not because they've been overspending for some time. So now they're short $55 billion. They're going to have to get that from federal funds, which means all 50 states will have to be paying now for California's spending spree. So we've got millennials and Gen Z trying what they're calling now a no spend year, quote unquote, to rebuild their savings. Well, should have been doing that a while now, but people are just not preparing. So we've got Amazon. They're telling also their own tale, basically putting in what they call performance improvement plan for workers. Then came tens of thousands of layoffs. So this is the framework of what major companies do. They call them PIPs for short, performance improvement plans. So if you hear that coming along in your company, be careful. That means layoffs are coming. So if you find yourself in that situation, I'm so sorry. Hopefully you're prepared. We've got basically more of what's being dealt with on this homelessness. They're building affordable housing, micro apartments. This is basically like hotel rooms that people are moving into now. So we're watching the spiral even faster. We've got the current administration also pushing everybody to get into electronic vehicles. We've talked about this. They're not clean. There's a lot more going into this. It's basically the lobbyists and who are paying the politics. If you haven't seen The Distinguished Gentleman, is an old movie by Eddie Murphy. Highly recommend it. Basically tells what's going on, and they even use energy companies as an example. But very, it's a comedy. I believe from the 80s or early 90s, but worth a watch. Okay, we got these blobs on bringing back nuclear power. I believe nuclear power is one of the cleaner energies, relatively speaking, still has its issues. But for any of this to work, basically right now they're pushing back coal. So using more coal, which is the dirtiest form of energy. But they need power. Okay, so we've got Boeing mulling sale of their defense assets. They're talking about selling a portion to Raytheon. Raytheon, possibly Lockheed Martin. I don't know how this will go. I was looking for a dip down to 165 in the price. Didn't happen yet. May still possibly, but it's on the rise. So something going on in the background here, merger and takeover, basically control behind the scenes. So moving on, we've got Swedish Central Bank looking at offline CBDC payment challenges. So another central bank digital currency, it's in the works already. So the e-krona, they're using this, kind of pushing people into this. But in real news, we've got Coinbase using the USDC stablecoin, quote unquote stablecoin, supposed to be tied to the value of the dollar. So they've teamed up and now they're using coffee that will accept this for payment. We've also got Robinhood launching crypto wallet for Android users, so you can keep it on your phone. I don't suggest using this. Treat it like a bank. Get your money out. Only leave in it what you absolutely need to in order to use it. So this is not basic testing use cases at the moment, nothing more. So we got France pushing back curb grain imports from Ukraine. So this protest to the farmers, basically making them unprofitable. So now they're putting in grain controls, both from Ukraine and then also trying to put tariffs on Russian grain, making it more expensive than local grain so that they can kind of keep their economy going. So this is basically a different version, trade wars and currency wars. So just kind of a flip side of sanctions, if you will. So I want to move forward with these stories because they're talking about putting people in fighting with Ukraine. And this is France. UK says they will not go in. The French are still talking about it. There's still people already fighting for them, a few thousand troops, but it's all very hush-hush and going to expand. So we had this interesting report come out saying that Canadians may revolt once they realize how broke they are, which I think it's funny the way that they put it, but it kind of catches what exactly is going on. People are not realizing what's going on. They're using credit to cover these things, but they're finally starting to wake up. Can that expand? I don't know. Couple lava updates. It's cyber attacks hitting water systems throughout the United States. They got warnings coming out. So make sure you're stocked with your water source, filtration, and also sanitation. Keep chlorine and then ways to filter it back out, namely charcoal. Could be a start. We've got this again coming up. Can be completely eliminated using gene editing. Well, I just want to put this out for a thought. What else could they completely eliminate? Talking about changing genes in every cell in your body. And I'll go over this more, just not here. Anyway, moving on to Assange. He's in a plea deal talks with the United States. He's already served 5 years, and this is just for telling the truth, letting information out. This is what happens to you. And Parler, very disappointing. Social media app, they used to be the one that used to not have any censorship. It's why they were so big. And now they've said they're coming back. However, they will be promising to ban violent and controversial content. So they're coming back as fully regulated, basically. So made themselves completely worthless. If you're on this, was one I tried out for a while, going to go completely off. So with that, I wish you all a wonderful day. This has gone on a bit long. My apologies for that. And I wish you all a green trading day, wonderful day in general. Until I see you again, stay free.